Today, I'm going to show you how to start and end your alpha pattern with a straight end. To start, you're going to need a scrap piece of string at least 8 inches long. Your base strings need to be at least twice as long as usual because we're going to fold them in half and attach them to the scrap string using reverse lark's head knots. Once we have our strings attached, we're going to tape down the scrap string and start tying about 3 to 4 rows of our background color. Making sure not to mix up the positions of any of the base strings because that could mess things up. The last knot of the second row, returning to the start, is a good place to work in and hide the starting end of the background string. Holding the knotted section tight, carefully pull out the scrap string. Flip your project over and open up the loops of the unsecured lark's head knots. Flip your project back over and holding the knotted section tight, gently pull each string through to disappear the loop. You only need to pull every other string, but you can carefully tighten each one. And there you have a straight, flat end. If you don't want to see the base strings at the top, then your base strings will need to be the same color as your background color. To do a straight end without any sewing, we need to secure the ends into the knots as we tie them. So when you have 3 rows left, you're going to loop each base string up and hold it behind itself, and then tie your knot around both halves. So we're going to loop it up and then hold the 2 halves together and tie a forward knot around both, making sure to keep the original base string in front. Once you've tied one full row, it should look like this with all these loops and ends sticking up in the back. We're going to tie 1 row of knots around both halves for each base string, still keeping the original base string in front. And finally, the last row, we're going to tie a knot around only the original base string, which should be in front, not the looped end. If you aren't sure which string is the looped end, you can pull just a teeny tiny bit, and if it moves on the other side, that's not the one you tie around. So we take our next loop and this string moves, so that's not the one that we tie around. Once you tie the full row, flip your project over and it should look like this. Starting on one end, carefully pull each base string end to disappear the loop. On the end with the excess background string, you can feed the end through 2 loops and tighten them around the string to secure it so you can trim it later. From here, you can do one last tighten of each string before trimming it carefully. And there you have a straight end for your alpha pattern. If I had the patience to make a bookmark, I think this technique would be great for bookmarks, but I can imagine it being good for little patches or mini flags, and there's definitely a way to attach a pin backing. If you like this tutorial, please give it a like and watch another one. It really helps the channel.